CJ says, I don't trust Notre Dame or A&M. Rusty, what's your thoughts on that?
Welcome to the conversation.
Yeah, well,
you just
welcome to the heater.
Notre Dame going to College Station this fall.
Boy, I tell you what, Notre Dame, that is they're at A&M this year?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Week 1.
They won. Walking into College Station.
I'm dealing. You know what I'm dealing with week 1? Georgia fans absolutely losing their damn mind playing Clemson at noon.
At noon.
Dude,
My wife's losing her mind, too. She works for Aflac.
They are pissed. They are.
Y'all gonna roll them.
Pissed.
They want a night game, huh?
They want to get lathered up.
Yeah. Lathered up.
Why should it should be a night game? What the hell are we doing?
Well, it's in Atlanta, Mercedes. So, like 3:30, 4 SEC championships are a really good time because what happens there, you can get lathered up, go to the
Cold
game,
sodas.
then go to a bar afterwards and catch the rest of the game at night. You know what I mean? At noon, you're like, what am I doing?
Yeah, I just woke up.
You can get a biscuit and a kickoff.
So it's never
a biscuit
and a kickoff.
man.
I love it, man. Well, it's never too early to preview that matchup. What are your thoughts?
I think it's a big game for Dabo Swinney.
Yeah.
I think it's a big game for Dabo Swinney because I absolutely love the hire of Matt Luke. I think that was one Dabo. He had to make that because up front is where Clemson's been struggling. And you get into the squared circle with Georgia, you better be able to slugfest. You know what I mean? I think Georgia early on, they're going to be very deep offensive line. They're massive. They're huge. Got a lot of experience coming back. Offensive line, boys, I'm telling you now, they are. That's some grown
Avengers movie.
That's some grown ass men. You know, I hate to use all those word freaks, but those dudes are aliens.
Yeah,
like,
it's
when you see those, you're like, how does that happen? But I will say, I think Dabo understands because the hiring of Matt Luke to get him to come out of retirement is a great recruiter trying to build those trenches. And can they give Kublik time? Because last time when Georgia played Clemson, they manned them up and said, DJ's going to have to beat us. And he couldn't. You know what I mean? They manned the receivers up. Let's keep everything in the box, keep everything in front of us. So I think it's a good matchup for Georgia. I think it's like 12.5 right now.
Yeah, I think it's 12.5, 13.5.
Last time
no love lost there. No love lost there now.
They came down 10-3 last time, right? That was Georgia's national championship run.
That ain't happening again.
JT Daniels. JT Daniels.
That ain't happening.
That was a
again.
week or two before Stetson took over, wasn't it?
2 weeks, I think, before Stetson.
Yeah.
You bring up the offensive line, but another thing we talk about Clemson all the time, the lack of skill positions have just fallen.
Dude, they used to have those dudes every year they had 2 or 3 of those guys. It's not. I think Clemson fans agree. It hasn't been there in the last couple of years. So where are they going to find that production? You know what I mean? I will say this: they got an absolute freak. It was here last year at the On3. Sammy Brown, one of the best athletes.
He's nice.
I've ever been around. First play of the game, Clemson spring game, gets a sack. He's going to play linebacker for them. So they got some young guys. Klubnik's going to be a big deal. Can he make plays, extend plays with his feet, and those types of things? But I mean, just being straight. People are going to get me in the comments, but I really, really like this this matchup for Georgia. I really like that early on with the experience. Carson Beck. You get that experienced quarterback in that first game.
I think Carson Beck will win the Heisman Trophy this year, man.
He's going to have the opportunity. And here's what I say. People ask me, I don't want to put that on him, but I will say this. He's going to play in big-time games. He's going to have big-time audiences, big-time environments at Texas, at Alabama, at Ole Miss, Tennessee at home. Kentucky's going to be a big game again, all these games. So he will have the right amount of opportunities to win one if he can produce there.
And I also think Cade Klubnik is going to benefit greatly for another offseason under Garrett Riley.
Garrett Riley. You get to see what he likes. And it's – people look at that and go, man, that's such coach speak, and it's not. A second year in an OC – because it's hard to change all the stuff during the year. You're just trying to win that week. You're trying to win that week.
Yeah.
You get to the offseason and go, okay, here's what we did. Here's what we did well. Let's build on that with him. A very smart kid coming from a big program out in Texas. So I do think he's going to have a better year, but I'm telling you, he's going to walk into a grown-ass man game at noon in Atlanta that day.
Noon. Well, no one is more in the know than you are when it comes to these recruits who are here this weekend. That's why you're with On3. And, again, we're so honored to be here at this today.
Here, man. How cool is this?
It's unbelievable. It's incredible. Industry-leading stuff is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So can you just break down who's here this week? You know, do you have any projections for guys who are going to commit, or guys who've just committed recently?
I'll say this. You know, I don't know if you guys saw David Sanders walk through here.
I saw him. How could you miss him?
You know, when you look at a kid that's 6'6", 285, I guarantee he's wearing a 34-inch pants. Like, this dude's built like an alien. You know what I mean? And I've done this long enough to know to look at him. If nothing changes, that's a Sunday. Never worry about a power bill. type player. That's what I say. You know what I mean? Very good player. You look at Bryce Underwood, the quarterback, the number one player in the country.
We just talked to him.
Dude, like you see him in person, big, great arm.
Doesn't he just look like he fits LSU perfect?
Dude, his interview, I listened to him interview with Shea Dixon, our LSU guy, and he goes, you had all this high, you're highly rated, you do this. Why'd you just commit and shut it down? He goes, why not? He goes, when I was ready to make a decision, I just committed, I'm done.
That's what you want.
Dude, that's an alpha. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that the people are doing it wrong, but there's those rare kids that love football a hell of a lot more in recruiting, and you got to have one of those in your huddle. But you look at those guys. Julian Lewis is here. Juju Lewis, quarterback out of Atlanta, Carrollton, and you ask, he's committed to USC. Everybody's pushing. He takes all these visits. Talked to his dad for a little while today, and they are firmly committed right now to USC, but nobody's stopping. Auburn is in that thing. I'm telling you, Auburn's in that thing deep with him. Colorado, Deion Sanders is full press on him. So we'll see how those things. Can you imagine Juju in Colorado? But I mean,
I'm convinced he committed to USC because they're the Trojans like Carrollton High.
Carrollton Trojans, man. Shout out Joey King, who coached. How about Joey King's career? I think he's lost 4 games in like 7 years.
It's pretty good.
Hey, and oh, by the way, you coach Trevor Lawrence, and then you coach
pretty good.
Julian Lewis. You know what I mean?
Pretty good.
So not bad. But there's a lot of guys here. C.J. Wiley's here, kid out of Milton High School in Atlanta. I'm very familiar with him. Dad played at LSU. Mom ran track at LSU. That's going to be a big battle for everybody. Tennessee's there. Travis Smith Jr. It's just the list goes on and on and on. And I think last year, in my opinion, we were better up front. We had a bunch of big boys here. We got some 6'1" corners. We got some skill players. We got some guys that can run. We got some QBs here. So it'd be interesting when you go back to look. We expanded the roster this year. It's around, 48, 47 players. My experience with this, you look at this, there's probably, I would say, I would be willing to bet, we'll go back and look 5 years, 31 to 32 of these kids will be NFL guys, barring any type of injuries or whatever. But the hit rate on these guys are a hell of a lot better than down the line.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that. I know we hit on Georgia already, but I'm coming back to it because I got to know, how do you replace a Brock Bowers and a Ladd McConkey? I know you can't. Is it a committee thing?
It's a committee thing.
Yeah.
But listen, I tell people all the time, and I loved him as a person. I loved him as a player. And there's a reason why he went top 10, Roquan Smith. Roquan Smith was a bad dude now. He was a heat-seeking, smart. He would absolutely light your ass up. Georgia's not going to replace him. It doesn't mean they're not going to have really good linebackers. It doesn't mean they're not going to have first-round linebackers. This is hard to replace a Roquan Smith. You look at Brock Bowers, the unicorn. He's a unicorn on the field. And he's a unicorn off the field. Ladd McConkey, the story has been told many times. And I have to, every time I do an interview, Ladd, I'm sorry, I did not rank you higher. And we kid about it now.
Get him, Ladd.
I tell you what, I went to see Ladd McConkey. Some coaches told me. And I was like, I saw him. I was like, dude, I don't see it, man. I said, this is a good high school player. And this was right before his junior season. And I go, I just don't see it. And I was like, who is this kid right here? I kind of like this guy. I didn't really have enough to go on the table at that point. I was like, I really like this running back from Dalton, this kid named Jameer Gibbs. So I go see Ladd McConkey right here, and then there's this little skinny kid from Dalton. I was like, damn, that kid's just got some burst to him.
Yeah.
And luckily, I was able to stand on the table a little bit. I put my name on
You
Jameer
weren't
Gibbs on that one. But for Ladd McConkey and everything he's done, it's hard to replace those types. It's going to have to be committee. It's going to have to be committee. It's going to have to be committee, and there's nothing wrong with that. Oscar Delp's there.
Who's a dog.
The tight end from Stanford's there. Just moved in today. So they've got guys.
Can we do a breakdown where Georgia has signed the number 1 or number 2 tight end in the country for 6 years running or something?
Probably. Todd Hartley, man.
Which is the most unique, but it gives the defense the most trouble.
Yeah.
I mean,
so they can still run 12 personnel without Brock with no problem.
It really started with like Darnell Washington, those guys, because Georgia was getting negative recruited, but saying that their tight ends are only blockers. They'll attach you to you're just going to block the defensive end. They're not going to use you. They're going to run the tailbacks. They're going to play ball control, and they're going to try to play defense. So when Darnell Washington and those guys came in that class, it really elevated them. And then getting a kid like Brock Bowers out of that COVID year probably forever changed that room.
Yeah.
Now they've been negative recruited a little bit at wide receiver, saying they only throw the tight ends. And Georgia's come back with that we had Brock Bowers. hell yeah, we're going to throw to him. Yeah. But Brock Bowers is gone. Now we got some touches everybody's got to get involved with.
Yeah, bring A.J. Green back for one visit to talk to him.
Has Georgia had the 2 biggest tight ends ever?
Boys, I'm going to tell you something.
Leonard Pope and Darnell Washington are the 2 biggest people I've ever seen play tight end.
Was 6'7", 280, and he was running routes. Dude, think about
that'd be me putting on 50. That'd be me putting on 50 and losing a half second on my 40.
If Darnell Washington was running at me, I'm making a business decision.
Can you imagine being a 5 tech and seeing Darnell condense down, and you're staring at a first-round tackle, you're trying to hold the edge, knowing this guy right here is about to crack back block. They're going to run that pin and pull on you.
It's a grown man sport, Rusty.
It's a nightmare.
And they're not playing. I mean, that DN's thinking, dude, I can't do this for 4 damn quarters.
No,
I'm this big-ass dude laying on me, and I'm looking at, Broderick Jones, who was a first-round draft pick, in front of me.
Sucks.
You know what I mean? Like, and then that poor corner. When that guard pulled,
business decision.
I mean, it was receiving friend's funeral for him.
Yeah,
I mean,
look, hey, Coach, I'm just keeping contained.
Dude, he was done.
I'm just keeping contained.
Hey, before we
the Olay,
yeah,
I'm not getting in front of that guard.
Before we take one from the chat, I got to ask you: would last year's Georgia team have beaten Michigan in the championship?
I really believe that, but I'll say this: that Georgia didn't do what they needed to do to get that opportunity. Mm-hmm. I think Georgia was a better matchup against Michigan. Head-wise, all that.
Alabama?
I do. I really do. And I think that, but you can't make that argument until you handle your business. Mm-hmm. I do think that Michigan got better, so much better as the year went on, and I don't think people put enough emphasis how good they were defensively.
That's what led the unit.
That defensive line, Michigan, was as good as anybody in the country. And I'm an SEC guy. I'm telling you, that D-line at 55 for Michigan is about to make some money.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to be a top 5 pick.
Oh, yeah. We get him again.
Dude, that's
because we need him this year.
I went back one day. I don't know if you can go back and YouTube some of his highlights.
Yeah.
This dude will electrocute you when his hands, like when he hits you, you jolt neck, shoulder. Like he will absolutely just control a gap.
And there was a while there in college football right before COVID where we thought, hey, this spread offense, a high-flying offense is what's taken over. And we saw what Joe Burrow did, and Nick Saban goes and gets, Lane Kiffin and Steve Sarkisian to be his OC, and things changed a bit. And then we watched Georgia win back-to-back national championships by playing hard-nosed defense and running the football like we used to see. And then Michigan following that template, which wasn't a copycat thing. Jim Harbaugh just had a quote that said, yeah, we view offensive linemen as weapons. We did get a weapon.
Yes.
So, they at least did it the same way that these SEC schools and what Georgia's been doing these last couple of years.
I think the best thing happened in Michigan was that Orange Bowl, get hit in the mouth by Georgia, because everybody has a reality check. Like if you want to get in the ring with that, that's how you got to play. Mm-hmm. That's how you have to play. And they came back, and it's hard. I really just personally feel like that was a better matchup, Georgia against Michigan last year, but I can't go on the table and say they should have been at a championship. They didn't handle their business. They didn't beat Alabama.
It's a team of destiny, man. Bring on all comers. After what that Michigan team went through, that's kind of how we kind of felt. Like, is this really? Are we in a team of destiny situation here? Because it's just so unusual. I didn't think we'd win a national championship.
All that matters, dude. They got a ring, and they went undefeated. And everybody has Georgia beat Alabama. Alabama had some injuries in 21. I mean, that's still Alabama. Every time you post a national championship, the Alabama fans, but you can't take away a national championship.
It benefits Michigan that they had to go through Alabama, because I thought Florida State, going undefeated, had a legitimate case to be in that Final Four. But if Michigan goes and beats Florida State in the semifinal and then beats Washington in the final, all we would have heard is, well, you won the championship the 1 year an SEC school didn't go. And that would have been kind of a legitimate criticism. They match up against Alabama. They match up against Nick Saban, go toe-to-toe in overtime in the Rose Bowl, knock them out, and go on to win the championship. You went through the best to have to get it,
Think if Georgia beats Bama, Florida State's in.
Yeah, we broke that whole situation down.
In, man. I hate it because you want a team at their best in the playoffs, but they'd have been in. What that had done to all the playoff scenario. You know what I mean? So
Florida State. Look, you're not a playoff team without Jordan Travis. You're not.
That's what that was the hardest thing for them to swallow.
And it sucks.
It sucks.
It hurts. Look, I get it. It's like going to Disney World and your favorite ride's closed.
Yeah, dude, they were loaded too. But there's a reason why those trigger men get paid the most money.
Dude, I'm telling you, they might have had the best roster in college football.
I don't know why people were like thinking they weren't. like at least in the mention for 2 or 3 best. You know what I mean? Like, look at the draft.
I had some in-laws, family members on my wife's side who said, well, Florida State hadn't played anyone this year. I'm like, stick to the quarterback got injured strategy because, you know, what they did with LSU in the open, they opened and closed with SEC wins at the regular season, you know. But either way, anything from the chat?
Oh, yeah, Mac Attack wants to know, Rusty, what's the biggest threat on Georgia's schedule this year?
I mean, until they beat Alabama, they've got to kind of slay that dragon.
You're going to Tuscaloosa.
They go to Tuscaloosa. DeBoer's first game first SEC game.
Come on, man.
That Texas game.
Are you going to be there?
I'm going to go to Alabama. I'm not going to Texas. I'm sending my guys there. I'm going to beat Alabama and Ole Miss. Texas is, I think, 2 weeks after Alabama.
Yeah.
Alabama's the end of September, but Georgia has to beat Alabama. That's been the one thing they had. They beat them, you know, in the national championship. But they've got to get over that kind of hump deal.
You know, who's not
it was the real same way with Georgia winning that championship. Yeah. They got to get over hump to win one.
Sure,
but you know, without Saban and DeBoer's first game in Tuscaloosa, that place is going to be
the Dark Emperor's gone now.
Going to be unhinged.
Little lighter on that sidelines. You look Kirby looking over there.
Rusty Mansell, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
What's up, YouTube? Hey, do us a favor. We appreciate all the subscriptions. If you haven't subscribed to the show yet, please do. Keep sharing the channel as we barrel toward football season. Y'all know what's about to happen.